Hello everyone, welcome back. Tonight we are going to dive back into material design and XAML. I've been saying it for way too long. I'd like to get a release out the door. And I was looking for an easy night. It's been a long day. But first, announcements. Okay. So, yesterday, wow, it feels like forever ago, and it was just yesterday. I did a session with Get Kraken on a very cool feature, one that I don't often show on stream called workspaces. Uh, I had kind of talked about it a little bit for those of you who may have seen this Get Kraken CLI video that I did. But if you were not able to make the session, never fear. They have posted it on their YouTube. So, first of all, if you want to see it, there it is. Second, give them a like and a follow. It feels good if I see the videos that I'm in go up. Um, uh, it was supposed to be Jonathan and I, but he had technical difficulties and was not able to join in time. So I winged it and did his part too. It was great. So it was a lot more of me talking. The one thing I'll call out on this video is the Q&A section on this is quite long, and the it was very good in my opinion. So at a minimum, if you've got questions on the feature, check that out because there was a lot of really good questions asked in there. Okay, next up. Next Tuesday. So, at time of recording this, it's January 31st, 2024. February 6th, 2024, I am going to be on Visual Studio Toolbox talking all about MS Build and kind of walking through all of the awesome stuff that you can do. This is something that I think people see get done a lot. You see people do magic with like their directory build props or putting stuff in their CS prods that just does stuff. And I don't feel like I see a lot of people actually diving in and explaining how MS Build works and how to leverage it. So that's going to be a lot of what this talk is walking through the learning, how you actually debug it and work with it so that you can actually start not just copying and pasting people's snippets into your CS prods, but actually building them yourself. So that's the end goal of that. So my opinion is anybody who works in the .NET ecosystem can get some good value out of this. But what do I know? I am shamelessly biased in my own favor. So once again, if that you are at all interested, check it out. The recording will obviously be up on their YouTube after it's over as well. Alex, hello. How are we doing? So there will be that. Okay. Material design exam. 5.0 release. There's not that much left. There's just a couple checkboxes. My goal tonight is to check those couple boxes. Like that should not like I was looking at this. This is not replace. Why have I not done this yet? Like really? I don't know. I did kick some of the other stuff out of the 5.0 release. I created a 5.1 release. There is this theme brush rename that's kind of hanging out here. I can probably close it, but I wanted to just review the stuff that's here. At the end of the day, this is some documentation, but there's a shim resource dictionary that I think does a better job of documenting this stuff. So, you know what? Is there anything more I'm going to do on this? No. Close. Boom. I don't believe there's anything more that we're going to do on the theme brush rename. There's probably going to be some theme brush additions for these specific use cases because there are bugs that have been reported that have come about because the color is being derived rather than having its own brush. So we're going to address that and probably create some additional brushes. But that shouldn't be a problem. As long as the new brush we create has the same value as the derived one from before, no one will notice and it'll just be a net add without much of a breaking change. Okay, let's start here. Let's just hunt the word accent, right? Like that seems like a very simple thing. The only place it should remain is if we have any tests that are held over from testing the old stuff to make sure things port forward, because there's going to be a couple places um, where accent might still be appropriate. Okay, so we've got, I'm just going to collapse some of this stuff up just to get a quick idea of where things are. Okay, so we've got some MAAP stuff. So the obsolete styles do not care. That is a place where it's expected to live. The generated enum, we can't do anything about. I don't own the source data for that, so whatever. Swatch snippet. I don't even think that's used anymore. So that doesn't matter. Okay, so the only places we have it left are hanging out in the Ma apps and the draggables, which is functionally Ma apps. So let's get those addressed. And then I think, well, hold on. So like this is a Ma apps brush. Can't do anything about that. This is also a Ma apps brush. Can't do anything about that. So those go away. This is control is X, not ours. Ma apps brush, Ma apps brush. This thing might be done. Because these are all setting Ma apps brushes, which those aren't our resource keys to change, so none of those matter. Okay, this is getting real short, real fast. Okay, so that's also a Ma apps brush, doesn't matter. Ma apps doesn't matter. This is describing a style, but I'm a little curious why I only see one hit on it, because I kind of expected that the key let's see, accent square button. Okay, so it's referencing that down there. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That doesn't matter. Secondary accent brush. This does matter because this one is us setting what used to be our old one. And I don't think this is relevant, but we're going to launch this just to see. Because I don't, we shouldn't have anything referencing this key anymore inside of the library, which means this is completely meaningless. We put it in as a stopgap in an old version. And let's see, what do we got here? These are referencing Ma apps brushes. These are the old Ma apps names. So these are actually, don't believe, useful anymore because they renamed all of their brushes. So we're going to get rid of these because those are no longer relevant. And then I think this guy here is the only remaining one left. So let's fire this up. And I just want to test the secondary color in here because I think it should be working despite the fact that this is setting a resource that no one's referencing. So really all we're looking to do is change our secondary color and verify the rest of the stuff updates properly. And it should just work. What do I know? I haven't had enough Mountain Dew yet tonight. Okay, so one, I'm noticing this color up here seems problematic, so that gives me a bit of pause. I'm trying to see where we actually have the secondary color getting set. I see it on the border. Let's see, if I go with red, for example, do we actually... Yeah, so those are all working just fine without issue. See, is there... I think those might be the sum total of the situation. Fine, that's all we need. The fact that this foreground seems messed up is giving me pause. We might want to address that real quick. So first off, we are going to be used by draggables when the theme changes. Look at this issue real quick. Selection highlight is gone. Okay, so the question will be, what brush is that actually looking for? We may keep this. I thought this was one of ours. But this might be setting a brush for draggables, which is somewhat old and hasn't changed. That's probably why this has changed. Let's see. Draggables is still using old theme brush names. Forward those Okay, let's take a quick look at what is going on with this foreground, because these things up here are giving me a good deal of pause. The fact that this foreground doesn't appear to be getting set properly. So let's pop that open with Snoop and we will take a look. Could just be main window too. Here are, let's see, font family. Could also be an absence of something being set, but okay, so here we are here. To the side. Let's just start right at the window, and I'm gonna look at foreground. So foreground is appropriately set on the window to a very light color. Makes sense? We go palette and we switch it to here. It switches to a dark color. But there's a handful of these things that are not switching. For example, this text right here. The question is, where are you getting your foreground from? Inherited. Okay, inherited from where? Text element foreground. One of you guys is. So I'm literally just walking up this tree looking for the offending party. I have a feeling it's going to be right here if I was guessing. Yeah. So tables control has got a default style that is being applied here. And this is likely a similar thing with our brush rename, where we have switched the foreground brush name. It still wants the old one, which is why it's defaulting to zeros, because it's not finding the brush that it expects. Great. We can address that. Let's take a look here. I think we see, you show us the missing brush names. Sometimes it will be nice. Other times we just got to go and look it up, because it's probably using a dynamic resource where it's not going to give us the information we seek. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. You can be a pill. Okay, so if we double back here, I think draggables. Is it not here? Must have kept it out. I wonder why. Okay. So the original author of the material design in XAML is also the author of draggables. The only problem with it here is you can see kind of the age of it is it has unfortunately not kept up, and he's kind of put it to the side. So it's one of those, it may or may not be worth putting a ton of effort into, but we're going to try to make this work. So in our app, we're looking for the tables control style is what is going to be. So table one. Is that not there? Oh, it's probably in here. The ripple, Ripple icon, thumb, button, key, draggables window. Okay, why are you not showing up in here? Pretty confident you're in here. Draggables item. Where are you? Item, button, style. Just watch. It's going to be the very last item in the file. It always is the last one you get. Tables control. Look at that. What a shock. Okay, foreground. Oh, interesting. Okay. So it is looking at some colors. Scroll, text brush key. Interesting. Okay. Well, we can change that. So if we come back over here, we can come up here. We can go resources. There's the key. Right, and then we can do solid color brush, and it's theme. Maybe we want the foreground. Boom. Great. One fun thing to point out, you'll note this is a color reference, not a color, but color reference itself, I did a little magic on, and so it has some implicit operators to convert it to a color. So it'll just reach in because a color reference has both the theme reference plus a color, which is highly convenient because then you can just use it like this. Goes across. Okay, so that I think gives us a foreground color. Hey, look at that. Now we've got text. And it is let's see. C# has been adopting functional programming a lot these days. Have you been considered using it more? I assume using it meaning functional programming. I will say I borrow themes perhaps more than anything else. I very much C# occasionally gets accused of having feature envy of various other languages that have put things out, which is to some degree a fair critique. There are times where it definitely feels like it has a little bit of that feature envy going on. But yeah, it's a different mindset when you do things in a very functional way. My brain functions a little more object oriented. So I like sometimes my brain has trouble wrapping my head around it. But there are definitely there are pros and cons because there's certain problems that lend themselves well to different styles of doing it. Okay, I'm gonna call that one done. We're gonna call that complete. Okay, right. Let's see. We want to hunt all removed obsolete styles exist in the obsolete shims resource dictionary. Oh, this one I added late because I may have deleted some. I know I deleted some. We're going to do some git magic to find those, but we'll do that after the fact. So let's go ahead and go after list box item and deal with its foreground. That'll be slightly more interesting, I think. Set a startup project, and then we're going to go over here underneath themes. This was under list box, and so specifically list box item. And then there should be a foreground property in here somewhere. That is not it, because it was specifically the list box item on its foreground. So, oh, that's the tool list box item. Don't care. Actually, let's collapse that. List box item. There we are. Let's see. Background. Foreground. This may be a non-issue. It looks to be because the foreground. Unless we're setting it inside the template, which would be kind of awkward. So like the mouse over border grabs it from the foreground. The selection border grabs it from the foreground. I wonder if this was not to deal with the foreground. Oh, for hover color rather than derived. Okay, so it is the hover color being derived from foreground. So it's specifically these ones. So mouse over and hover are more or less synonymous. And right now, this guy is just reaching up for the hover to be this guy. And technically the same for this. So the question comes, how do we want to address this? Because right now, we go and spin a brush. we spin a brush, it very much sets up a situation where that brush is always going to win. Is that desirable? Probably okay. What does this round converter do? Brush round converter. Let's just take a little digging into here. Got it. So it, based upon whether it is a dark color or not. Oh, we already had why are we in this? Why are we using this? I thought there was already a is dark. Yeah, is dark color, which is the opposite of is light color. What a shock. I wanted to queue up and I wanted to get rid of that. So is light color calculates the luminous. These look to be doing more or less the same thing. Let's see. Red times 0.3 versus 0.2. Green by 0.7 versus 0.6. And blue by 0.7 instead of 0.1. So, still January, and what year is it? Hey, Izzy, welcome back. It is still January for me for a grand total of 3 hours. And dear heavens, 5:20 GMT is a little early. I am very confused as to why this thing is leveraging this at all. I'm kind of thinking that this. Okay, I can't help myself. Solid color brush. I color dot. Let's see. Do we want is dark or is light? Because if it's a light color, we want to go to black. Right? So if it's a light color, we want to go to black. If it's a high color, we want to go there. Okay. So we're just going to get rid of that, just so I don't like having multiple ways in the repo of checking for is it a dark color or a light color. I already spent time making sure that this function was correct. Just use it. So for people who are interested, there was a great deal of time spent, and it should have been less than it was, of grokking this algorithm into C#. It's not complicated. It's just a lot of magic old numbers. And so it took a little bit to figure out. So these functions here for like contrast ratio, so that you can make sure your foreground is of an appropriate contrast, are some of the coolest things in this library, in my opinion. Okay, so that we're gonna clean that up, and then let's fire the demo app up and just make sure we didn't break anything around it. And I'm trying to decide what we do here, because on one hand, my knee-jerk reaction is an attached property. Because I don't want to break the using the foreground as the fallback. I think that's still very appropriate. I think we got it backwards. Yeah. Because we are not trying to do, in this particular case, we are not trying to invert the values. We want the hover color to be the same as the foreground. Trying to find the, because apparently I closed it like a moron. Let's see here. Yeah, because mouse over, it's just taking foreground, and then it's going to animate the opacity on this guy. Let's see here. That was so cool. Apparently there's a place you can click that doesn't land on anything. Yeah, so that looks better. Okay. So that gives me warm fuzzies. We have one place to do it now rather than multiple places. So the question is, this hover color, allowing the user to set something, I think that really does end up needing to be an attached property. And then I think we default the attached property to foreground. The only thing that gets interesting here is I think the the 2 value is still very much hard coded. Trying to decide how much I hate that. Because we can give the user the ability to set the brush. That's not as big of an issue. But if you set the brush to a value, you kind of expect to get that value. I'm somewhat tempted to take the foreground brush and apply an alpha value to it, and then have this animate from 0 to 1. Because then rather than applying opacity to the element, you're applying it to the brush. I think I like that better. There's a reason not to do that. I'm wondering about perf. I think that's actually WPF brush opacity. There, something in the back of my mind is telling me that there is a performance thing around either the opacity or brush opacity, and I can't remember which is which. Opacity on brushes versus opacity on elements. Is better to set brush opacity rather than setting the element's opacity property. Oh, so it's actually better if we don't do that. Okay. I like that. That seems appropriate. So what we will do then is we will spin a brush with an opacity value set on it. We'll just do that. And then we will just, rather than animating the opacity from 0 to 0.3, it will just move all the way through. Okay. I like this. Let's go list, box, dist. Boom, boom, boom. Collapse that sucker down, and let's go here. I have list box item assist. We do. And let's see. Corner radius. The only thing that exists. Okay, so let's go ahead. I don't usually like regions, but holy cow, Copilot! What do I want to write now, Copilot? You guessed the region name properly. What, that's all you're going to help me with? Amateur AI. That's right, I'm still the developer. Get in line, Copilot. Get in line. Okay, let's see. What is the thing? It's prop. Find the attached dependency property. See, I can never remember whether it's prop A or prop AP. AP is the Maui one. Okay, there we go. And so this is going to be a brush. And we will call this... What? I apparently pressed the wrong key. Try that again. Typing's hard tonight. Prop A. Brush. And then we're going to call this mouse over background or hover background. I think hover. I think that's slightly more. Mouse over is definitely what it is in the old way of doing things, but I don't think that just because that's how old WPF named it, that we necessarily have to adhere to that. Because as much as I love my WPF, sometimes it shows its age. Sometimes, just a little bit. Okay, so we got that. We got that. We should probably fix that so that it goes like that. Okay, there we go. Now, what we would like to do is default this to be the foreground brush with an opacity set on it. So we do a setter, setter property, and then we are going to set, we call it inside the library, I think, list box item assist. Oh, I'm debugging. That's probably why it's having trouble. Something, something, something. You're in the middle of a debug session, you moron. Something, something, something. Okay, and then value. We're going to do a binding, foreground, relative source, self. So it's going to look at itself. It's going to grab the foreground. What's the problem here? Not recognized or not accessible. Yeah. Just compiled. So you can go away now. I don't care about you. Okay, so the only thing left here, because this will get us a brush, but it won't necessarily get us a brush with an opacity. The question is, do we have an easy way of grabbing that? I think we have a converter. Brush opacity converter. Boy, that sounds remarkably like exactly what I want. Look at that. Boom. You pass the opacity as a parameter, and it just works. I am noticing there's a small hiccup here that I don't like. Var RV. Actually, we're going to switch it. I become a slight higher preference for doing target type new. But I would like to freeze the brush. There's a nice performance bump when you freeze that. Because this thing is just straight up hard-coded. It's not like it's a dynamic resource or anything, so not changing out on me. Okay, so we want to do that. Yeah. That is what I'm here. And then I would like to leverage that side of here. Let's see. XP brush opacity converter. Then we would like to slap a converter on this lovely binding. Converter, static resource. Watch my big head, make sure I don't get in the way. Then we got to set a converter parameter with our desired opacity. I think it was 0.3 if I remember, but let's double check. 03. Yeah, I had 2 out of 3 of the numbers right. That's not bad. And then this is going to become a 1. And then this guy down here, rather than being bound like this. So template bindings you can't use against attached properties. So you have to fall back to the full binding syntax. That's okay. That. So you have to do relative source templated parent. And if you're wondering why this thing isn't giving me the actual thing, it's because technically what we're doing is mode templated parent, but mode is optional. So it's just the IntelliSense ain't hip enough. Okay, so For binding to an attached property in WPF, we use the parentheses. Vinod Jane. Hopefully I'm not butchering that too much. Thank you for the sub. I appreciate it. Okay, so binding to the attached property, WPF, list box item assist. We can see it. Nope, that's not how you spell hover background. That's how you spell hover background. Boom. Okay, so now that goes there. That goes there. And when we fire this up, with any luck, nothing changes. It should look the same. Crossing fingers. And if that's the case, then we'll go and set it and confirm that we actually have a good set. Okay, so the hover looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Okay, so now if we go back to the demo, go down to our list thing, and then we're gonna just tweak this guy a little bit. Let's see. Our list box. List box. Oh, interesting. I think this is okay. So the thing that I'm realizing is we did not set this show selection. So there's something different about these. This one is, oh, interesting. It's not bubbling up. Where does that get set? Clearly works. I'm just curious where. All right, I was expecting to see an inherited thing. Ah, ha ha. There it is. So it looks all the way up. Ah, that's actually rather nice. Let's add that feature as well. Let's add that feature because I don't want to have to necessarily reach all the way up. Wait, where did it go? Did I set it on the wrong thing? Where is my... Where did I just set this? Okay, so hang on real quick before I get too carried away. So Control KK puts down a bookmark. We're going to leave that there. Just actually, let's clear all my bookmarks first since I don't know what I have saved. Then we'll put it back. Okay. Now, this is the list box item. What did we edit? I think we edited the wrong thing. So it looks the same. Yeah, look at that. We did the tool toggle. Well, suck. That's not what we wanted. We're going to copy this line and bring it down lower. Okay, so note to self, pay attention to what you're doing and don't be an idiot like me. Okay, and so we come in here, we'll put that in. The interesting part here is before the other one is reaching up to find the value off of the list box itself, whereas this one is, we can't just reach up to the list box per se. I don't think that's expected. I think we want to keep it separate. That's just fine. That's fine. Okay, so now I'm less confident that we actually made it work. So where did my beloved Kraken go? Don't want you. Thank you. Hold please. Okay, so let's revert some changes real quick. We need that. That's fine. That line we don't want. That line we don't want. And this line we're going to copy. And then we're going to throw it away here in a moment. Let's see. So this line goes here. And then this line, oh, interesting. So it's not 003, it's actually 01 for this one. Change that. Make this go to a 1. And then that goes there, that goes there. think that's better. We're all saved up. I'm going to just come back in here. I'm going to then discard that line off that style. Confirm that now we're just editing the default one. Okay, let's relaunch and once again just confirm that things are actually working properly. Then we'll confirm that it looks properly. Okay, so once again, does look correct. Well, we got to test it, actually setting it. We would have caught it if we'd done that. So what we need to do is basically what this alternatively is suggesting, except for rather than targeting show selection, we want to do hover background. And as we all know, the appropriate testing color is, that's right, it's fuchsia. Okay. That didn't do a darn thing. So we are going to reload because I don't trust hot reload enough. What we expect to see is when we hover, we want fuchsia, just straight fuchsia. Not get fuchsia. Okay, so now we got to debug. Now I don't trust my work because it didn't work properly. Okay, so let's go here and then list box item, and we want to look at hover. So this thing has a binding that's still set to the foreground. So this did not get properly set. Let's see, list box item. So there should have been a style with a setter that was based on that. So is this thing's, take a look at his style. This thing should be a style with a single setter in it. Not. It's got a bunch of setters in it. Means this thing did not apply as we expected. Did we list box out selection highlights? Great. So we edited a different list box. So that doesn't count. Okay, so we should actually go up to this list box and do that. That will probably have a better effect. Because editing the hover color on one that doesn't show selection is kind of meaningless. Okay, also didn't work, but once again, we're going to relaunch. This time we can at least see the items that we were using. Okay, so list. Oh, I want to find out where that click is. Because apparently there's a place you can click that gets you into... Turns out, when you look at the right code, it works. So if you want to change it to be ugly and fuchsia, you can change it to be ugly and fuchsia. We're going to just leave this as a comment sitting here. I don't think we want to leave this in. And override the... Yeah, thank you, Copilot. You didn't fix my spelling mistake. Okay, so that now works. I don't see any issues with that. And I think we probably need to do something similar for the menu item, but before we get too carried away, should we deal with selection as well? Feels like you'd want to do selection as well. That looks funny. Okay, so let's kill that and let's add in selection because that's, now that we've got this thing set up, it's really not that difficult. Let's see. So pound region selected background. Come on, Copilot. Write the code for me. You're on fire, Copilot. Come on. Come on. Trigger inline suggestion. You can't stop there. You were doing so well. Here, I'll help you. Public static void set selected. Nothing? Copilot, you're a disgrace. That you'll complete for me? Thanks. You want to do this part? No? You're going to make me type? Fine. Let's see. Set value. Selected. Background. Property. Value. Want to write the hard one? Thank you. I don't like your comment, but selected background property. See the Copilot? This is what happens when I have to type. I typo things. And nobody likes that. Okay. Then we should end our region. Thank you. See, now you're willing to help now that I've done the hard part. Okay. And then back over here. We're going to come up and we're going to go boom. We'll do selected background. Once again, same stuff. But I want to check and see what... This was going to 0.18. We want this to be 0.18. This goes to a 1. Oh, interesting. So there's a slight... Oh, so we actually have two selected. Selected focused and selected unfocused. Fine, we'll put them both in. We'll do that. We'll go selected focused. Oh, I want there, selected focused place. Yep. I dislike when I write a comment and try to trigger Copilot to write a method for me, tell me what to do. Maybe I just want to write comments endlessly about what the method would do, but never write it. Yeah. There are times the AI does not earn its keep. It's like some days the AI feels like it's Friday and it just wants to mail it in. Like that's how it goes some days. Boom. We're going to do that. That. I really should just drop into VS Code and multi-cursor this to victory. Okay. We'll do both. Do both. That way, if you really, really, really want to do something fancy, good focused, right? Because that was the 1.8, and then the unfocused is going to be the 0.9, so that it's halved. Why don't you just multi-cursor here? Why do you need VS Code? So Visual Studio doesn't have true multi-cursor. They have block edit, which can work, but getting multiple cursors at different positions in lines, not as good as it is in VS Code. Control Alt click around. Wait. What? I learned something new. Wait. Do they have next item too? This is epic. Yeah. Oh, Benjamin, thank you. Thank you. You have just saved me quite a bit of time. I was actually just talking to somebody earlier today about multi-cursor support in Visual Studio and lamenting it. Okay, all hail. Thank you. That is gorgeous. So the one other thing that VS Code has that I wish existed here is you can select something And they've got keyboard shortcuts for automatically adding cursors at other instances of that. Like, for example, I could immediately have a cursor at the end of each of these. And they've also got ones that are add new cursor at next instance. So in VS Code, I think the default's Control D, because I can select, go Control D, 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 and it just selects it, and I get cursors at all the positions, and then, backspace or whatever. Very helpful for kind of when you want to do textual-based renames rather than syntactic ones. Because, like, the refactoring tools are good for syntax-based ones, but, like, for these guys here where I wanted, change the region, change part of a method name, change it down here, it'd be nice to not have to manually click at the right place in all the spots and just be able to, next, 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 next. I might have to go dig through the shortcuts. I won't do it now, but that is epic. Okay. That is amazing. Okay, we do have one eensy weensy little problem here though. In that this guy here, we need to do something about. And I'm trying to decide the appropriate way to handle this. We could increase our element count and have a second element. Mildly annoying, but doable. We could do a trigger or similar to switch it, but that feels yuckier to me. Because really the whole point here is to change the previously it was the opacity, because there's a slightly lighter one when you're selected but not focused versus selected and focused. Alternatively, I know I just added the property, but we could axe the idea and just have selected background and let the opacity apply to unfocused and just kind of downgrade what people have a little bit. I don't know if that's actually what we want to do, because the whole reason for doing this work is there were users who wanted more fine-grained control over this, and the problem with having it hard-coded here is there's no fine-grained control. And you can't... Storyboards have to know a definite what they're animating to, so you can't just do bindings, because bindings could change midway through the storyboard, and that's no bueno. And storyboards are typically frozen elements that are not going to be changing once they are applied. So given that, the duplicating of elements is sort of where I'm leaning, but I kind of want to look at what all is bound to this. We've got 2 storyboards. Oh, that's dumb. Really not that much. 2 storyboards tied to it. And then there is one trigger down here to set it. Because all we're doing is bringing that thing forward. We could just... let's see. Could drop in. Problem is we can't... Right now it animates nicely from one to the other. And if we do separate elements, it won't do that animation. Won't do that animation. Which is somewhat disappointing. You can do a color animation. and go that route. That's an option. Right? We could do something much simpler. But the problem is you have to animate a known thing. Can't just data bind your way to victory. Just kind of what you'd want. But it's only going to be set in one specific. So don't know if a color animation gets us what we want. Let's try this. We're gonna come in here, selected, focus order. Then let's do this. I think what we can do is, even though we can't animate the opacity of the colors, I think we can animate between them just by fading one out, which I think will be pretty close to what we want. Selected unfocused background. And then this is going to be selected focus background. And then we're going to do this guy here. When this is set, we got to turn that guy off. So that goes like that. That goes like that. I think what we can do here, though, is we can do... I guess, hold on, the duration on these is set to 0. Wait a minute, the duration is set to 0. There is no animation between. They're just straight set. Oh. I could have sworn there was an animation there. I must be an idiot. Okay. So that's gonna make this a heck of a lot easier. Yeah, let's give this a shot. Once again, we're first testing to make sure that the original behavior is left intact. And then we will oh, cool. All right, getting messages from Nikolai about the 5.0 release. Okay. Okay, so my window obviously pops the wrong monitor because it likes to chase my cursor around. Okay, so selected. The animation is really on the over. Oh, generated duration. See, I thought there was one. See, and you see how there, that's what I was looking at. The fade out. But honestly, you can't even tell the difference because the colors are overlapping so much. Okay. Okay. So let's put this guy back. Let's test the other one. So we want selected focus background obviously is fuchsia. I mean, I think that's obvious to everyone. Um, and then naturally, what goes well with fuchsia but lime? And if that doesn't make your eyes bleed, I don't know what will. But this is how you can guarantee that you won't accidentally ship it, because that is blindingly bright enough that I think everybody's eyes will kind of bleed. So select. And if I move focus down to here, I don't know if that's that bad. It's slightly different than what it was before, because you can see how it's animating out, because the green's coming in as the pink's going out. And by pink I mean fuchsia, right? So it's transitioning. It's slightly different than it was. I'm trying to decide if it's bad or not. It's different. Different. Is it bad? I don't know if it's bad. Because the problem is you don't want to just drop the fuchsia, because you need something there. Yeah, and before it was just an opacity change, and without the colors in there, I think it was difficult to actually see. Right, so we're just gonna put these up here. Boom. Okay, so there's that. There's that. Because I don't think the default is actually that easy to see, because the colors aren't so distinct. They're two they're two shades on the grayscale. So even though one's coming out and the other's going in, I don't think you can really see it. There, there, there. It's really hard to see. How does it look in light theme? There, there. I don't think anyone's gonna notice. I think that is quick enough. What are we talking about here? A third of a second? 2/3 of a second. 2/3 of a second. And it's only different from the original for the first half of that. So the first third of a second, the only thing that's going to visually be different. And only if you set the colors to something horribly obtuse. I don't think anyone's going to notice. Okay. We're going to do this. Let's see. Clean up. We're going to leave that there, because I think that's the most I want to do on that. And all of that. So we're going to I'm not going to push this at the moment, but let's do this. Do a couple commits here. All of those are around that. Okay, great. So clean up, draggables, brushes. We need a branch real quick. Create branch 5.0. I don't know. Boom. Boom. So we'll put those two in a commit. I realize my fat head is in the way, so I'll shift this over so people can actually see. Okay, remaining changes. Demo app with the list. Switching the thing to actually freeze the brush. Fixing this to use the shared method. Theming change, which is what we expect. And then assist properties for the various ones. I don't know why we have this. No, thank you very much. Like it all. Let's see. Adding attached properties for list box item. This allows scrolling. Hover selected. Unfocused. Focused. Plus selected dates. Okay. Boom. Okay, I think the last one here was menu item. And I think it's probably going to be the exact same thing. Let's go here. Go menu. Well, hang on. Probably just do real quick like. Go here. We scroll down. We go WPF. Themes. We go menu here. And there may be an argument that a similar treatment that we did with the attached property should be applied to more of the list box items. Do want to start to kill these off too if I can, but that is neither here nor there. Okay, menu item. And I am looking for the round converter thing. So there's your background root. And where do you get used? Show it to me. Corner radius is highlighted. So that is basically the same thing. So let's find it in the demo app real quick. Menus and toolbars. I believe it's just this guy here. What it's set to. Okay, so we want to do the same thing because menu item doesn't have a reasonable property to set here. Surprised we're setting the border on this one the same, but I guess I'm not that horribly surprised. We don't actually care to do this. We don't care to do this. So we want this thing to be invisible right up until we hit the trigger, which is, where's the thing that sets the, yeah, so this guy here, this guy is not going to set that. He is going to set background. And then this guy here, he is going to set it in to be, in this case, we could do a brush. I don't think we want to. I don't think that makes the most sense. So I think here what we want to do is same thing we had a minute ago. Is we would like the binding. We'll have it here. Yeah, something like that. Big head is in the way again. That okay. So rather than list box item assist, I believe it's going to be menu. We don't have menu item assist. We have menu assist. Are there menu item things? Top level menu item height. Interesting. We may create a new one because I'm not sure I like that. Let's just assume there's a new one for the moment. Menu item assist. Highlighted background. Let's see. Do you find XML a pleasure to work with, or would you want to change it? That's a great question. And in this case, I assume you're referring to XAML for the UI layout. Because I've done just a smidge with XML stuff in like native Android. I think for UI layout, there's something rather elegant about XML-based layouts. I don't know. It feels nice. I realize it's more typing than other formats, and so it's kind of arbitrary. And maybe it's just my history with it that makes me a little more biased towards it. But it's kind of nice as a way of laying it out. Like Maui has added in a lot of C# ways of doing UI, And there's a few things that are easier if you lay out, because at the end of the day, the XML is just a different way of specifying the same objects and their relationships together. That's it, right? You can do the same thing in C sharp. In WPF, you can do it in C sharp, but it's real bloody ugly. Like there's the APIs are not nearly as nice. In Maui, they've kind of cleaned up those APIs so that if you want to do code or you want to do XAML, either one, you can go back and forth and mix and match and do whatever makes you happy. And they've made the API reasonable to work with. But I think my preference is still XML. Like it feels nice and again, it could just be that that's just from years of working with it and my brain is wired that way. But when I look at a UI, I can I can picture what I need the XML elements to be. I can picture the grids, I can picture the layouts. Yeah, it also supports attributes and can be easily extended schema-wise. Yeah, there's a lot of that. But I think there's a reason that XAML caught on and became kind of popular. Like even things that aren't Microsoft. I did a stream a few weeks back on Avalonia, which was an absolute joy to use. Um, and it uses the newer XAML syntax of what people would expect with like UWP or WinUI or similar. It's got the updated XAML stuff, and it feels nice. And maybe it's also like why HTML has stuck around is there's something kind of nice about an XML layout in terms of conceptually putting together a UI. There's something nice about it, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but there's something there. Okay, menu item assist, highlighted background. Is that really what I want to call it? Hover background, highlighted background. I think in this case, naming it to match the menu item property is nice. I think that works well. Um, this is not going to work like this, though. I guess it does. I guess I'm more inclined, though, to show hide the element rather than doing it here. I think, yeah, I think I'm going to move this. I'm going to move this. I don't like that here. There's something about that that's giving me bad vibes. And I feel I like this a lot. React. Okay. Yeah. And so I'm actually in the process of learning some React for a project that I'm on, and it's not bad. And there's something nice about learning how other frameworks and languages work, just to compare and contrast. Because any any language or framework that's gotten popular, it's gotten popular because there's something nice about it. It may not be the best at everything or great at things, but I've never seen something get popular and not have there be something there that is nice about it. Okay, and I think what we're going to do is visibility here, right? And we will just toggle this thing to visible. jQuery. Okay, there may be some exceptions. I think jQuery, what was nice about it is when it came to be, the alternative was native JavaScript. The bar was set low, is what I'm saying. So in some ways, it was nicer. I don't. I think modern stuff, most people have moved away from jQuery for most things. Um, we're actually going to go hidden rather than collapsed here. And we could almost just straight, like we almost don't need a trigger for this. We could just do a straight binding. WordPress gods still use it. Oh, yeah, but WordPress. I was talking with my partner on a side gig, and we were discussing building website stuff out for it, and he was kind of floating different ideas of, we could use this to put together the website, this to put together. I was like, honestly, I don't care. Just don't pick WordPress. I was like, that's the only thing I'm going to say no to. Just every time I've had an experience with WordPress, it hasn't been positive. It's always a pain. Uh-oh. That's not a good sign. Decompiling source code sounds like we're about to blow up. Let's see here. Oh, right, because I referenced an attached property that doesn't exist. So the XAML parser is unhappy with me. So it turns out that if you're going to try to use menu item assist highlighted background, you should probably make menu item assist actually exist. So that's a thing that should happen. Public static class menu item assist. Okay, Copilot, go. I've given you your hint. Okay, you done waiting. Let's see. This is gonna be a brush again. Oh, as soon as I typed the question mark, it dropped it. You suck. I feel like there's something going on with Visual Studio. I've gotten too many add-ons that do completion stuff. What's doing wrong here? And they fight with each other on who gets to complete what. Okay, I give up. I give up. You're just being annoying. Let's see. I have to remember what I called it. Highlighted background. Grab that. That. Brush. Brush and body the member. See, and brush. If I remember correctly, in C#, for you to import from another file, you have to configure the DLL. So yes and no. If you are talking about just a straight DLL reference, yes, you do have to go and directly add that. So if you were to do it what I will dub the old-fashioned way, you do add assembly reference, and then you go and point it at a DLL, right? And then inside your C# code, you have to add a using to the namespace inside of that for every type that you want to access. Modern C#, we don't do that very much if we can help it, because pinning yourself directly to one DLL is kind of a pain, and yeah, sucks. The more common approach is you'll typically either end up with package references, which point at NuGet packages, and then it does some magic to kind of figure out the appropriate DLL based upon what framework you're going against. Like you can see here, I've got multiple frameworks I'm targeting. And so all of my dependent packages, it's going to figure out the appropriate one for me to use based on the framework. And then if you've got kind of those DLL references between projects, what you'll end up seeing is things like this, where it's actually a project reference between the two. And so Visual Studio or any of the MS Build tooling is smart enough to know, oh, okay, before I compile your demo app, I have to go compile colors, and then I have to compile themes, and then I'm going to give a DLL reference back into your project, and you're off to the races. So yes, you can still go the old way of pinning straight to a DLL, but it's not nearly as common. Inside of our CS projects, functionally, it looks more like this, right? So a project reference is just a relative path to the other project. The other project does have to be part of your solution, right? So you just can't willy-nilly do stuff, but in general, it's other projects in your same repo you can do this kind of thing with. And then for NuGet packages, it looks more like this. Do you need to set up that project reference? Yeah, you do need to set up the reference, which is either a single line in your CS project that looks like this, or if you prefer to not type and you want to use the GUI, it's right-click on dependencies, add project reference, and then you can just check the boxes next to everything you want to add, and it'll go edit the project file for you. So if you like a GUI, you can just right-click, check some boxes, and click OK. Or if you prefer to type and manage it yourself, you can go this route. There's also CLI arguments for people who prefer to do everything on the command line. I don't understand people who do like add projects to solution, whatnot. It feels so cumbersome, in my opinion. But some people are diehard CLI people, and .NET is really doing their best to make sure that they have a first class support for CLI, because that gives them broad reach across different platforms, rather than saying, well, it works in Visual Studio. Well, Visual Studio is Windows only. How do Mac users do it? How do Linux users do it? So they've been trying to push for that CLI interaction for everything, simply so that there's a good story and a user experience for people on other platforms. Yeah, purist. Exactly. Let's see. So let's move that guy to his own file. That thing should now stop squawking. Okay, let's try this again. This time with all of the code actually existing. In Copilot, I'm not even giving you the assist on this one. You did not help. You did not do your fair share. Okay, so let's go to the menu. Take a look. So menu. Well, we've done something bad because, well, that's exciting. Okay. So, oh, I know why it's not showing up. Because we bound this to an attached property, and then we didn't give the attached property a default value, so it's null. And a null property will render itself pretty much as you just saw. Empty, which is no bueno. No bueno. Okay, so we're going to go here, and we want to, once again, default this guy back to what he was before. And I don't know what he was before, so get crack and save me. Okay, so before it looked like foreground with a rounding, but what was the opacity at? 0.1, what we're going for. Okay, so we want this guy to be binding, relative source self. Then we're going to do the, right? Yeah. Foreground, and then this guy will use the, we don't want to use the round converter anymore. We are going to need the other one, which I think it's still in my paste buffer somewhere. Nope. Nope. That all looks wrong. Okay. Where did I have that before? Where did I have that before? Why is my solution? Why do I have so much stuff open? They're all in the way. Okay, so let's go here and let's go back. Let's go brush opacity. Hi, when you use attached classes, let's see, menu assist, scroll, and so on, is it considered a static class or an instance class? Ooh, great question. Second, let me get myself back into a compiling state. So the the attached properties in WPF you can think of as very similar to how, am I doing this the hard way? As to how extension methods work in C#. So just like how extension methods in C# are declared as a static class, but your usage of them makes them look like instance members. Now they aren't. The compiler just does magic to kind of change up the syntax of how that static method is invoked just so things look nice, but they are functionally still static. For these assist classes, and I closed the one I actually care about and left the wrong one open. These ones are still static classes with static properties on here. But the important thing with dependency properties is the The dependency property that you see referenced here, that's static, this is the property definition, not actually the value of it. Because when you do set value, get value, you'll note that there's a dependency object being passed in. So in our case here, the dependency object is going to be a menu item. So the menu item is setting a value and using this as a key. Internally inside of dependency object, I think we can see it. Will it show it to me? I don't know if it will. Dependency object, you can think of it as basically maintaining a dictionary of properties, and the dependency property instance, yeah, so the dependency property instance, which of course I keep moving it around, this guy here is just a key into a dictionary. So when you're doing get value, set value, conceptually you can imagine, okay, the menu items base class is dependency object. That has a dictionary of stuff. The dictionary is keyed on dependency property definitions like this. So when I say get value out of the dictionary, here's the key. It looks in, pulls that value out, passes it to a brush, and gives it back to me. So static to actually go back to your original question, they are static, but just like how extension methods in C# work, their usage makes them appear as though they are instance, but really they are a static thing that acts on the instance rather than an instance member on the menu item itself. Okay, brush opacity converter. Am I in the right place? Already lost myself. There we are. That's what I want. And I got this guy here. Yeah, no problem, Justin Bieber. This that is not how you spell converter. Static resource. And then converter parameter, I believe was 0.13. I've made a mess of my stuff and my syntax, and it's all a mess and everyone's angry. Okay, so now it has a default value of foreground. Now when we launch, we expect to see the same gray color for the highlighted menu items. That's the expectation. If we don't see that, then we'll come back and play with this. So I really should be. The demo app has a nice startup thing. Okay, still no worky. The ripple seems to work. Okay, so you here, open there. And so we expect this to be on the menu item itself. So walking up my stuff, there's the menu item. Inside the menu item, what is the name of the element called again? Background root. Background root. This guy here is background. Oh, get error message. Let's see. Cannot create default converter perform one-way conversion between types int system window media brush using converter. What? I am. Guy's reaching up to his templated parent, grabbing that property off of the templated parent, which in this case is the menu item. Great. Let me look and see. So on our menu item, do we have our attached property set? No. So that's what's failing. So binding, the value is 0. Huh? Foreground. That too. Binding, relative path, foreground self, brush, opacity converter, converter parameter. I stupid. Value is brush. Get error message. Show it to me, please. Think for yourself. Just show me the thing. Relative mode self foreground. You should get that. Let's see. Not gonna show it to me. Cannot create default converter to perform one-way conversions. Did I? Look at that. So remember how I said it stores it in a dictionary? The dictionary knows the type of object that's supposed to go in there, and it was convinced it was an int. Well, that's not going to work. If you try to shove a brush through an int-shaped hole, the brush will not fit through the int-shaped hole. Okay, menu item and toolbar. Hey, look at that. Huzzah, huzzah. Let's make sure it looks good in light theme, which it should. Does. Great. Okay, let's go and change it in the demo. Make sure that that works appropriately. So if we do, let's see, what is it called here? Material design, menu item assist, highlighted background, and once again, obviously we go with fuchsia because there is no other color but fuchsia. It really doesn't like picking that stuff up with the hot reload. I really like hot reload is great when it works, and every time it doesn't, makes me question why I have it. Okay. Oh, you should never completely trust it. Oh, look at that. Great. So that works. I don't think we're going to do anything beyond leaving a comment here. You can set the highlighted color with. I'm going to leave comments for this because this is kind of an edge case that very few people actually need. Most people just want the default. The defaults will work, and now you can change all of those as well. Okay, adding support for, how about menu item list, highlighted color, the background color, new item is highlighted. Commit. And then my favorite thing on Get Kraken, you'll note local branch, click, drag, drop, push, and start pull request. Mwah. And like that, I have a remote branch. I have a pull request. The last of the 5.0 cleanup. This adds support for box items, hover, selected, unfocused, background, colors, adds support for the menu item highlighted, background color, and then see, I think we want to, this is something I want to go through and tag as release notes because that should be mentioned for the few people who care about those. And new pull request. New pull request created. No thinking. No thinking. Then I just come up here, enable auto merge, confirm. We're just going to put this in the 5.0 milestone. As soon as that merges, very, very close. Okay, so that's done. That's done. That means the only thing that is left is this guy. Now we have to figure out how to deal with him. So the nice part is we have a wiki and we have this control styles thing here. And this guy has every style that is included in the library, as well as links out to just jump straight to it. At least it jumps to the file. I don't know if it jumps. It doesn't have line numbers. Not. That would be a nice addition. But the nice part is this scripted. And we have a script to generate this because I am way too lazy to do. I've kind of wanted to get like a .fx thing going. So people who haven't seen this, .fx. This thing. This thing's pretty slick. They have a demo. Thought they had a demo in here. Yeah, this. You can get this kind of page for more or less free. Link in the chat. Boom. It's actually rather slick. You have to spend a little bit of time configuring your pipeline to make sure that it is set up properly, but you can go from documented repo to nice looking website in very few steps. The key thing here is setting up the config for it to tell it about all the stuff that you want, right? Because there's the generation of this typically is going to be a little bit more complex than just like, hey, pull all my XML docs. But there is a lot here, and it is pretty slick. It is amazingly for what you can get out of the box. Pretty nice. So I've contemplated killing the wiki off in favor of killing off this wiki in favor of generating a GitHub Pages site, because then it's just in the repo. People can pull request in, all of like everything gets nicer. So that might be a stream at some point, is setting that up, because I like my DevOpsy stuff, and that type of thing is something that I would go and put in my templates repository for a reasonable thing, because most of my repos are set up in a similar way, and so I feel like I could get something down where I've got a pretty solid template to bring it in. Oh, yeah. So if you are at all interested in generating out these kinds of point to actual code on a page, yeah. So here, I'm gonna just show off. I think it goes. So this one here is generated right out of Velopack repo. I've teased multiple times now. This one, but this is a public repo. So here's the public repo. Here's the generated GitHub pages for it. There are sample apps here. So these ones just end up linking back into the repo at the appropriate location. But there are various bits in here, and I thought there was bits that actually linked right back in. Because you can get it to gen up the links into your repository. So find that I have to copy and paste a lot for some of my tutorial pages. Yeah, and on the docfx stuff, they do call out depending on what you're doing. And again, this is where that's going to matter a little bit. Where did that link go? At it. Getting started. Blind. Had it opened. just had that open. Where did the page go? Here. Boom. Go. Down on their getting started, they have the idea of writing articles. Wait, not the same. Oh, quick start. That's where I was. There we are. Yeah. So this idea down here is what a lot of times you end up doing if you're doing like tutorial stuff, because tutorials aren't going to be something that lives in like the documentation of your repository. They are some like blog posty style article that gets written. But what you can do is you can go through and write them out appropriately and then gen these things out. So for example, like this compiling one here, you can see edit this page. And in this case, it was really trivial to set this up because all of the docs for this were already inside of a docs folder inside of Markdown. So if you're already building docs in Markdown in your repo, this is like a no-brainer. Like it'll turn those into pretty website from that Markdown. But you still end up having to kind of write this type of stuff. And so if you are wanting to like lift code samples, you're probably still going to end up doing that kind of copy and paste, which some people will go and build out tooling around generating that, but docfx won't necessarily handle saying link things back and forth. Because it does get difficult to know how to do that properly, especially as things change. So, but it is a very, very slick tool. Absolutely love that. Okay, but the short version being, I can cheat. I can straight up cheat. Go back here. And also, see this? Pretty icons. I like my icons. Here, if anybody needs a source of icons to use, because not GitHub, Kraken.com. If you ever need a source of fun icons to play around with, you go to getkraken.com, scroll all the way to the bottom, and hidden at the very bottom is the Keef Gallery. This is the good. And you've got this plethora of really awesome Kraken icons to leverage. Now, I will say, most of the time, a lot of these are just regular like JPEGs or PNGs. Some of these are motion GIFs. And you cannot use, for example, this one I would have loved to use. See how pretty that is? But this is a motion GIF, and you have to grab like the still of it or something, if you want to use it as an icon elsewhere. Still, isn't that pretty? Who doesn't want a Kraken with its own little spell book and I don't know, magical focus and doing cool Sith Lord things? I think everyone. Okay, let's go look at that Gen 5. So, I want my wiki seriously not part of this? Oh, this isn't the MDIX one. Here we go. Let's see, repos. Seriously, the wiki isn't part of this. Okay, add a repository. Whoa. How add repository? Oh, interesting. I wonder if it won't let me pick up the I wonder if it won't let me grab wiki ones. That's it's an interesting problem. How can you add a repository that doesn't show up in your query from a provider? Oh, that's really interesting. You could do it with like the VS Code workspace, I bet. Interesting. Okay. That feels like a bug to be addressed. I will wiki this. I want to put you into my workspace. How I workspace see this. Okay. So the nice part here though is we know when our last release was. We can come down here to our tags. We can see, okay, 4.10, boom. So what we are interested in is the state of the control list stuff. Don't need the package or this branch sitting around. Go away. At this commit compared to the other one, I think the easiest thing to do is just check this out, run the script, copy the file, and then diff it. Do that. We go here. Let's see. Check out this commit. Detached head is fine. Boom. Okay. So I close this down. Myself a terminal. 4.10. Good question. Around May 30th of last year. I don't know. There wasn't a lot in 410 from 4.9. Like you can see the sum total of stuff that's in here. So if you are back on 4.9, you're only missing out on, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 bug fixes, dropping of Netcore app 3.1. There's a new attached property for Ripple Assist for centering. There's some pack icon updates, and that's it. So if you're on 4.9, you've got the bulk of this stuff. It really is bug fixes and then just a couple attached property support things in there. So there's not a ton there. So don't feel bad about not having 410. It should also be a trivial upgrade to go from 4.9 to 4.10. Okay, so inside of here we have scripts, and I believe we have generate themes wiki markdown. Is that it? I don't remember if that's it. This, yeah. So output file name, yeah. So that is what I want. Okay, so I want to go generate themes wiki markdown sudo make me a sandwich. Okay, so now I should have a edited file, which is now sitting way up here. The control style markdown, great. So I would like to take that file, close down all of this stuff that I've got open. Let's go with that. I would like to take you, and I'm just going to go put you elsewhere. Just somewhere not in the repo. Because I need to go back to latest, then we will sync back up. So let's go all the way to here. So we know it doesn't really matter because there should be no theme change or style changes here. Let's see. Lots of NuGet downloads for today, I fear. Pull into my offline repo. Yeah, my bad. Jobs were not successful on my PR. What didn't pass? Oh, if it's that stupid UI test again, I'm going to be a little annoyed. Oh. Well, look at that. That is both useful and disappointing. So we've got a UI test that's asserting on the opacity, which is good, but it also is flagging that this is utterly wrong. That's exciting. So we'll go fix that here in just a second. But we're going to come in here. We are going to run said script again. Great. We are going to do a create branch. Foo. Sounds great. Great. We're going to put you in here. Latest 5.0 styles. Commit. I probably should have done that the other way around so I could see the deltas in positive direction. Let's reset you back. Throw that away. What are you doing? I said reset. Reset hard. Oh. Yeah, I want to throw this away. Get rid of it. But I want to reset foo. Oh, interesting. It doesn't know how to reset when there's an ad there. That's okay. So here's what we do. We go back to this branch. Do I have something open that's holding a file lock? I bet you it's V. Don't want you. Just go away. Reset. Thank you. Okay, that was way harder than it needed to be. Okay, so give me Explorer. What we're going to do is we're going to put the file in place. So this is the old one. We'll do here, old styles. All right, we're just going to do a commit for the moment. And then we run this. And this will now show us the deltas. So this is everything that's going to be different between 410 and 50 in terms of styles. And that font is probably a little hard to read. Let's make that a little bigger. Wow, there is a lot in here. Surprise this. Oh, this didn't. Oh, it didn't overwrite the file. It just appended to. Oh, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. Okay, so let's just throw away that delta, and then we will come over here. Fine, since you're gonna append, do that. Now it should show up as a proper. Okay, better. Okay, so this did a whole bunch of stuff, but it converted here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this thing a little bit nicer to work with. We're gonna throw this away for the moment. We're gonna edit the existing file. Our lovely, where'd it go? VS Code. And what we are going to do, because I don't want to spend time staring at this. I would like to take this commit hash and I would like to replace it with this commit hash. Because I don't want that to show up as a delta. We're going to save that. Come up here. We're going to stage amend so that it, that over so it's here to see. So we are going to amend our previous commit so that it now has the new commit hash. We're going to come in here and delete the file since we know this thing prefers to append rather than overwrite. Or gen it, and now we look at the deltas. Now, hopefully some of these deltas get a little easier to look at. Still something different. What is different in this line? Why is this line showing up as different? Oh, because I have white space turned on? What is the delta? For did it not replace the 4AE 433? Why did it change the? Oh, because I amended the commit. That's an interesting problem. I want to amend the commit without that's it, because the commit hash is part of it. Every time I amend it, I'm changing the objective. Okay. 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 So we'll do this differently. Do this differently. So we'll do this. Take our thing, and we will just duplicate the file. Dot old. We will gen and get a new, and we will name you dot new, and then we will just if you with like VS Code, right? Because that I think is probably just as easy. Now we have these two guys here, and diff between. Yeah. Okay. So, but what we can do is we can come in here, we can grab the bit hash from the new one and the one on the old one, and say be the same. Now, when we do the compare, there, that's more like what I was hoping to see. That's what I was hoping to see. Okay, so now we've got a nice list of all of the stuff, right? So, can we order these? Because I'd really like to see showing backwards. Auto suggest boxes. Let's pair selected. There we go. That's the order I would like. Selection order matters. Okay, so auto suggest box is new. Great. That we don't care about. Material design outline secondary light button. So the secondary button we want to make sure is in obsolete one. See, this is now useful. This is now useful. Let's see. Let's just go back onto the 5.0 clean. Oh, how do I do this? Let me move these out of the repo as well so that I can move around in the repo without getting bit by stuff. I just need a temp directory. Just need a temp directory. That's all I need. Then drag you to yes. Well, I don't want this VS Code instance because it is in the current workspace. Go back to here. And then I would like to grab VS Code. Open. Okay, new, old. Right, so I want to where is air? Pair active file with other file. There we go. That's all I want. Thank you. Okay, so we've got this. We want to go check and verify that we've got shims into here. That is the objective. Now we can come back over here, reopen Visual Studio, and we'll go look at the shims. So the idea with this this last item here is there is in an effort to make people's migration lives easy, because I realize I have done major renames on all of the brushes and a significant number of styles. Totally get it. That's going to be a painful thing for some large projects to invest. As a workaround, what I am wanting to ship is something inside of here. So there's this obsolete style resource dictionary. And if you don't want to rename your stuff, you can come in here and you can find styles with the old keys that map to the new keys. That way, if you reference this in your app.xaml, all of your old style keys continue to work. Now, I will not guarantee how long things will be maintained here or over how many releases. This is intended to let people do their upgrades over time without having it to be need to be a big bang thing. So I cannot promise how long it's going to be, and probably by 6.0 range, a year-ish, you can expect that there's probably going to be breaks coming to this. But that's the intent, is to try to make people's lives a little bit easier. So let's see. Do we have secondary dark button? And actually, we want to do it in Visual Studio because if we don't, we're going to need to import that one. So let's go to our theme. We want to grab the obsolete styles. So first on the chopping block, secondary dark button does not exist. Okay, I was because this is what I was worried that I had done. Okay, so let's see. Is there a rhyme or reason to the order that I've done these in? Not a lick. That is mildly disappointing. Action N F. So I'm gonna alphabetize these just for my own sanity. I think that's what we're gonna do. Is we're just gonna alphabetize these. Filter. Let's see. Let's see. Element. Oh, I can't guarantee I will do this well. Filter chip accent list box. Also, Visual Studio's syntax highlighting loses its mind when you do this, which is great. Let's see. Outline, checkbox, list box item. List box should be above list box item. Let's see. Material design, navigation. Material design, choice, chip. These all need to move up. Let's see here. Let's see. Checkbox goes above choice chip. Let's see. Choice chip list box goes above list box item. Let's see. List elemento list box goes above item. Make my life easy. Hey, Deflux, how you doing? We are very close to having a 5.0 release. Yes, certainly you can share. Cool. Hit me. Some EF code. Okay. If you are able to drop a link or similar, let me know. Boom. Okay. So let's see. So we come in here. We create a context. Find an item by root ID. Let's see, and we specifically have we have a match. So you get to your console write line here, so you know you didn't early return. Event plan is null, and I have no idea how. Okay, so plan ID is there. We first or default plan ID. Where did plan ID come from? We have a match. So plan ID is clearly, I'm guessing, is plan ID of type GUID? That's a GUID that gets passed in. Okay, cool. So that's a GUID. That comes in there. And then we have a match on event ID equals plan ID. Okay. So you iterate over your, let's see, where did match come from? Okay, so match is the found one when you've pulled it by primary key. Okay, so it's got some related entities. I kind of have a hunch this is going to be the source of the problems. We find the event plan ID equals plan ID. And then event plan there a weird equal sign in the link in there? I don't see a weird equal sign. If you're talking about some of this stuff with like the arrows, I'm guessing Deflux has like one of the nerd fonts or similar installed to be able to get the cool glyphs. Yeah, same with like the not equals. I've seen a lot of, so for people who haven't seen nerd fonts, this is if you want to have some fun making your editor do cool stuff, I believe this is it. Yeah. There's a lot of cool ones out there. I had a colleague at one point that spent a great deal of time playing with all kinds of fonts. There is no end of options out there. Okay, so event plan ended up being null here. So let's see. So event plan is null, and you tried to pull event plan by going to the DJ portal event plans and finding the first one that didn't match the plan ID. It seems like this. Hold on, I think I'm missing something. Cascadia code. So when I for each through the list, it works. But if I first or default is AKA no match. Yeah, but shouldn't this be an equals, not a not equals? Oh yeah. Uh. Okay, good. I was staring at this going, I feel like I'm reading this backwards. Yes. So short version, this the conditional just needs to be inverted. Um the other thing that often bites people on EF to be aware of is the necessity of the dot include method, because oftentimes when you do related entities, depending on how you've configured your DB context, the navigation properties for related entities may not be brought down for you. Uh, core the loading related data. Yeah. So this is the so this is what I mean by depending on how you have it configured. Oh, it's Mongo Cosmos DB. Ah, okay. AKA NoSQL. I might have to look. I don't know how it does related data on that because it's a document store. I don't know how you get. uh, Yeah, I might have to look. You might always have. So, you might just get lazy loading by default. But typically when people have configured explicit loading, or what is it? Yeah, this or eager loading is often the one where it'll bite people. Where if you don't do the dot includes, like in this case, the blog instances that come back, their post collection will be empty, despite the fact that a blog may have posts. So this is usually the one that bites people where they get weird nulls. They're like, wait, I've got a foreign key. There's no way for that to be empty. Bill! It may not be null in the database, but sometimes you don't want it to bring back all that data, so you have to tell it what effectively what joins you want it to do. And so that often bites people a lot in looking at that. Okay. And choice chip accent radio button. Material design. Not material design filter, it's material design choice. I think that's going to be here, right? Chip accent LPR. Think it's like that. Yeah, no problem, Deflux. I actually really enjoy those kind of debugging things. One of my absolute favorite things is when I get bug reports, and specifically when it's a bug report that is either not reproducible or it only shows up in like prod or something to that effect, but they've captured a good either memory dump or stack trace, like playing the detective that has to kind of unwind that and figure out, okay, how is this case actually possible? How did we get here? And then how do we fix it? Like that is actually fun for me. I usually tell people the most valuable skill you can learn is reading code because you're going to spend so much more time doing it than anything else. Let's see. Material design, accent, radio button. Yes, I think that goes there. Material design, multi-floating. Let's see here. The LM going to be here. Okay, so now that I've figured out where I'm going, let's actually slap in the styles. Okay, outline secondary dark button. So we need a style. Let's see. Admin S. We're actually just going to be here. Style. Copilot. Nope. Copy. Try that again. And then this is going to be target type of button. And then it is going to be targeting the material design. I think I can probably just guess my way into this one. It's going to be called accent. No, hold on. Yeah, it doesn't work as the font stuff doesn't play as nice in code reviews if they do them in the browser because you have to actually like have that configured there as well. But they are. I will say the fonts with those extra glyphs can be quite nice in looking at stuff. Um, it takes a little bit of brain power to shift over to seeing those extra glyphs, but I've had people tell me that once you've adjusted yourself to looking at like a not equals that way, it actually ends up being easier because then your brain isn't parsing like multiple symbols; it's just a single symbol. So for what it's worth, I am mildly confused by this though, because this is showing me that yes, sadly font doesn't transfer. Yeah, it's very much a user preference thing. I had an old colleague once that actually had a dream of putting together some system where every dev could basically edit the code on their local system in the style that they wanted, and then it gets converted to a standardized format on like your push, um, but on pull it switches back and forth, very similar to how like Git handles line endings, but something a lot more aggressive. So not just line endings, but hey, maybe somebody wants their opening brace up on the same line as their if. Like that way every dev can work in the style that they like, but there can still be a standardized thing to commit. Just noticed that I do not have my VS on that font. Interesting. Okay, so we have. I'm confused here because this should be a new one, right? Because we want to map the old ones to the new ones. Material design outline secondary. Material design outline secondary dark button. What is the? Wait, is that? Yeah, that's why I'm confused. I feel like that is the new style name. I'm now a little confused as to why Like accent would be the one that would have gotten axed. This just showing it to me backwards? No, because auto suggest box is new. These ones are the new names. Material design paper button. That one just went away. Let's see here. Flat dark background button. Yeah, so flat dark. This one here should be flat mid. Wondering if there's something that has messed this up. Materials design, flat dark. Oh, so it's not. Oh, it's not that they're missing. There's just extra things in here. Oh, and because there's so many lines apart, they don't find out what it is. Oh, got it. These are not a sorted list. Yeah, I'm noticing that. Okay, so we might clean up this data a little bit. Let's clean up this data a little bit. So we're gonna find regex mode on. And then that. And then we want to be end of line, basically. And let's just flatten that up there. There, that cleans that up. We can apply the same thing here. Okay, that gets me to there. That gets me to there. What does that do to my diff? Gets me closer. Let's get rid of, let's see, leading line hyphen base, and just nuke all of those right away. And same thing there. I think we're just going to go to a flat list and then sort them. We're just going to manually get rid of these. Matter. Those, because they matter. Okay, we're going to get rid of bang bang, anything to the end of the line. Whack those. Whack those. Okay, and then let's get rid of empty lines. I think. Is that not going to match anybody? Yeah, so if we can, I think we need to do /n to pick up the end of the line. Yep, and that picks all of those up. Concerned that I've accidentally dropped something now that I see those. Reverting back to make sure I'm not missing anything weird. Oh, so the default style may not be named. Is how we get to those. Okay, so fine. We don't care about default styles. We're only interested in named ones. That cleans all of those up. Over here, clean all of those up. We might need that style again here in a minute. Let's go ahead and grab do that. Some character, any number. That. We're going to go grab the thing out of the middle. Make it a numbered capture group. $1. Drops all of those. Drops all those. So people who haven't seen this before, when you do the so on this regex, the parens here, create a numbered grouping. And so $0 is just the well-known, hey, here's the thing that matched. But then every group of parens that you have inside of your pattern gets a number. And so this is just basically saying group index 1. Which probably leaves me down here where I want to grab nothing fancy, but just straight up grab those, replace those with empty. That. And then we once again want to do the start of line, white space characters, any number of repetitions to end of line. Let's see. What did I feel like I messed this up? What did I do wrong here? It was possible. Oh, something. Oh, yeah, that'll work. Then we just want to clean that up. Okay. And then we are going to do sort line descending. Manually kill that one. Then we are going to go sort lines descending. Manually kill that one. Now look at our compare. Oh. Better. Much better. Concerns me that now I'm seeing things that I didn't realize we had. But this now. This is now, I think, better. It's not perfect because it doesn't account for all the cases, but it's a lot fewer. Material design switch accent toggle button. The fact that we got down to dupes is concerning to me, but there could be some weird differences, and I don't feel like chasing those. Okay, so there's a lot of dupes. A lot of dupes. I wonder why that happened. That's okay. I don't care that much. So the switch accent toggle button. Let's go take a look. Let's see. That should be toggle button. Is this something that it was legitimately removed? Okay, so you are legitimately removed. Which accent? So let's fire the demo app up, I think, because it's probably easiest to find them now. All those notifications are. That was from earlier. I love how I've got my font turned up, and that's so itty bitty tiny. Oh, it's because my zoom is out. Okay, so toggles. We are specifically hunting for which accent toggle button. So I'm thinking which secondary toggle button is the new one. So we come over here. We can make sure that we've got a guy here. So this one comes here. Element or S, and the replacement becomes secondary. This is just a rename from accent to secondary. Great. Okay. That is handled. Okay, continuing down. Raised accent button. I am willing to bet this is just raised secondary button. Material design. raised secondary button. Yeah. So we want this guy. Copy this. Oh, this is actually wrong. I should look at what this type is. Make it match. These things should always match. Okay. So this one here is going to be accent button. You're going to go to the top, and then your replacement is going to be this guy here. Okay. Proper place. Oh, actually, hold on. Material design raised. That button. Oh, RS. Okay. That one is now handled. You over. Okay. Navigation accent list box. Kind of guess my way around here. Let's see here. That one's already handled. Okay, navigation. Wow, that's kind of horrible. Please tell me that's not still in the repo. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Okay, so that got moved. I'm I'm intentionally not going to bring this one forward. I don't want to propagate that. The tab control, there won't be that many instances. Okay, floating accent pop-up box. That one is handled. Bring that over. Mini accent button. That one is not handled. Okay, so kind of guess our way into this again. Grab the button guy down here. There's the old key. Just about guarantee that the replacement is, this becomes the word secondary. Boom. That, oh, it's button base. Good. Base, and actually let's double check this one. Might be button base too. It is. Okay. Dial that down there. Let's see, material design floating. Like that. Okay, that handles that one. Floating accent button, I think. Answer. Yeah, we'll just confirm. Let's see. This is gonna go probably right next door. I think we can probably once again just assume this becomes secondary. We'll confirm it is also a button base. Is that one's done. Oop. Okay. Flat accent button. I have a feeling another one. The flat is going to be here. Project it there. And we will go there. Here. And I'm once again going to assume that I can just go secondary. Yep. That goes there. and flat accent background button. Accent key button. Yeah, so flat accent. Flat secondary. Because what was this? Flat secondary. It's going to be the flat secondary mid background button. This is the replacement. Let's see. Boom. That will forward into there. That will handle those two. Okay. These ones I think we already handled. Should be quick confirms. Box item are both done. That one's done. Done. That one's done. Okay, so all of those are already handled. Skip accent radio button. That one's handled. Because I think I had started down the path of killing this, and then I think it was Nikolai who pointed out I was an idiot for doing it. Used nice words. But I was still wrong. Okay, so hard flipper. I think that one I actually want to leave as a breaking change because we intentionally want people to end up on the new one. Okay, so only these ones left. Okay, almost done. Almost done. There's an accent toggle button. That one's doubled up. Okay. Sign. Accent. So this is going to be that. I'm going to assume that this just secondary. And I assume the type on this is going to be toggle button. Goes there. Okay. That handles that one. That's a dupe. That one's done. Done. That one's done. Okay. All of those are handled. Okay, so all of the old styles now should have, with a handful of exceptions that I think are acceptable, we're not going to propagate that WAP forward. And the flipper is an intentional breaking change of you're getting the new one, whether you like it or not, and those ones will come through. Okay, perfect. Okay, last thing to do then is, okay, gonna go up here, do a commit, adding missing obsolete styles. Okay, and then we are going to fix that UI test that failed on us. Which one was it? On mouse over, background is set. Great. That sounds like something that is looking at the opacity. Let's see. So this is definitely getting the opacity. This is, we want it to be a 1. Yep. Let's just run the entire suite of these tests. Make sure that they work properly. For those people who haven't seen it before, these UI tests are built with a library called XAML test. I built it because there were no good testing libraries out there for unit testing your UI, because it's kind of an awkward thing that I'm wanting to do, because this library is so much styles and theming. How do you unit test styles and theming? That's not really something that you normally do. Um, so I ended up building a library, because normal UI testing libraries oftentimes go through the accessibility APIs and they're designed to simulate a user. Fine if what you're testing is an app, but I wasn't testing an app. I was testing to make sure that colors got set and that triggers applied and all of that stuff. And there's no APIs for that. You go through the accessibility stuff. You have to kind of test the end result. And even simple things like get me the background color were non-trivial to implement. Okay, perfect. Another failure. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Show me what failed. On mouse over background set. Didn't we just fix this? What are you unhappy about? Expected true, actual false. Okay. Contrast ratio. Oh, interesting. So it's trying to assert that the contrast ratio between the foreground and the background are appropriate. This is interesting. So the foreground that it's going to get effective background. The problem is this get effective background doesn't handle the this doesn't handle it doesn't handle the opacity on a brush appropriately. That is highly problematic. So we are just going to flatten this out, do this, because I don't know the proper way to do this. I don't know if it's possible. It should be possible. I don't think it's reasonable at the moment. We're going to kill this portion of it. And instead just focus on making sure that the appropriate, like, make sure that the right element in the template is properly animated. Is functionally what this guy is now going at. So making sure that the mouse over border has its opacity increased. Okay, so that fixes that. Let's see here. Oh, let's do this commit here first before I get too carried away. Commit, and then we're gonna go with fixing broken UI test. Okay, commit, push, and hopefully this now runs and passes, and we are off to the races. Okay, so that will get the last of the items in the 5.0 milestone done. That's now done. That's now done. So every single one of these 5.0 breaking changes things is complete. So this issue is going to get pin tagged up on here. But my intent will be to the nightly release that goes out tonight. You can treat it as RC1 for the 5.0 release. Now I know there may be some other pull requests and things that get added to 5.0, but what I'm saying at this point is that the sum total of stuff that I'm waiting to do before shipping the release is done. So worst case scenario, things go into a 5.1, because we got into a cadence of doing some nice fast releases, and then 5.0 hit and everything ground to a halt. So I want to get it out the door so that things stop grinding to a halt. And I've got projects that are already running on some of the previews or the nightly releases of this, because I needed stuff from it, like the new free list view control or similar. So I've got plenty of things that are leveraging it. It's just I'm very confident things work, or pretty confident at this point. But if anybody would like to try it out, I welcome all testing and feedback. So there will be a nightly that kicks off this evening. Just set yourself to preview packages and pull it down, and off to the races we go. So I think with that, I'm going to wrap up for this evening. As always, thank you everyone for coming and hanging out. Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully we actually get this thing shipped and out the door and off to the races. So yeah, no problem, Deflux. Maybe let me look. The problem with me and rating is that I am typically, of the people I follow, I am usually like the last one on. So I don't know if any of the none of the ones that I would typically jump to show as running. So uh yeah, trying to get my head around MSIX. Ooh, okay, shameless self plug. You have to use MSIX cuz I got something cool. I got something cool. Um if you don't have to use MSIX, this is a project's Maui WinUI 3. That should be fine. Uh this is a project that is very much in progress right now. The collaboration between me and Kaylin. Um, yeah, so anything that packages updates without the Windows Store via HTTP request, you are gonna love this. So if you have at all looked at Cloud Squirrel, did he didn't rename it? Where'd it go? Cloud Squirrel. This guy. So Squirrel is a fairly popular installer. The problem with Squirrel is that I will show you this right here. This is the problem with Squirrel is they have been actively looking for contributors, and i.e. people to help take over the project. There's a number of outstanding PRs and issues that haven't been addressed in a while. So unfortunately, Squirrel looks like it's stagnating. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Dang it. Hang on. Thank you. So here's the Squirrel repository. This right here is the major issue with Squirrel that I have. Nothing's wrong with it. It works. There's a lot of apps out there using it still. Like it's technically fine, right? But this does not give me confidence and makes me scared of it. And the outstanding issues and PRs that haven't been addressed also make me scared. Because of that, Cloud Squirrel was built, and you can see Cloud Squirrel was a updated version of Squirrel. It was forked right off of it, with the idea of lots of patches, lots of fixings, and then there's been complete rewrites of like some of the updater stuff and all of that, and that is what is making its way into a new product called Velopack. And the main library itself is open source. So this will give you the idea of, like, you can see the demo here that he put is this is using an Avalonia app, but anything that can run .NET is going to be fairly trivial. There's also a sample of WPF in here as well. But it will build up packages with release things, and as long as you're willing to host those somewhere, there are built-in commands for pushing for GitHub releases and using GitHub as your hosting, which they kind of don't like that too much, but for most people, your request load is going to be so small it's not going to matter. There's like an S3 bucket support. I've looked at potentially adding like Azure storage account support. Um, but one of the things that we are planning on offering is a hosted SaaS solution for people who uh, just don't want to think, right? They want to run .NET Publish, they want to set some things and not worry about it, right? Like I just want to send my stuff up, and there's a lot of cool stuff where we can do things like multiple release channels and that kind of stuff. So if people are interested in that, there will be a SaaS solution coming with all of the stuff that you would expect. But if you just want to do the building and hosting yourself, yeah, you can certainly do it. Um, yeah, like a GitHub action that sends it over to your SaaS. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually going to take it a step further than a GitHub action. Um, I've got it working right now where if you run .NET Publish, it'll go. Like if you set up your configurations properly, all you run on your pipeline is .NET Publish. So you don't even need a custom action. You just need the appropriate NuGet package and run the command. You'll also at some point need to set a version number so that it knows which version it's publishing out. And then there will likely be like a project key or an API key that you'll need to specify to make sure that you're the owner of it and that kind of thing. So there will probably be a couple parameters that have to get passed on the command line because I don't know how else you do that. And you probably want to make sure that you're passing them securely with like the GitHub secrets or similar. But I think I can get it down to only needing to pass one thing on the command line, meaning the API secret, maybe two, depending on how you do the versioning. Because some people like to have their versioning stored inside their CS proj. Some people like it to be like their build ID or whatever, right? So depending on, you might have to pass a second argument for your version, but I'm pretty sure I can get it that small. Yeah, and GitHub Actions can do the token requests. Yeah, so that is ideally what ends up getting set up. So that's the hopeful end goal and something I have been spending a ton of hours working on. So, but if you are just interested in doing the installers, check out the Velopack stuff. It's awesome. Specifically the examples project. This is where you'll find the most interesting stuff to be able to go through and do it. Yeah. So, quick summary of important things to do. You need to reference the Velopack NuGet package. You need to put the Velopack app build commands in just so that it can go through and handle this. This is doing an update URL, and this is pulling from an attribute. This is not, like as the comment indicates, not the way you would normally do this. You would normally code this update URL to wherever you're going to host um, the files. Because ultimately, when this thing does its update check, it's going to look for what a releases manifest, which defines out all of your releases so that it knows when there's an update and that kind of thing. So you just need to give it effectively the base URL for where that's going to be hosted. So something like this in somewhere around main or near startup is what is important. And then the NuGet package. And then after that, it's all a matter of just running the CLI commands. And we have been, this is a work in progress, but this is definitely a getting set up type situation for documentation. So if you are at all interested, take a look. Like I said, the base library for building this stuff, our intent is to leave that free and open source with a SaaS hosting solution for people who don't want to deal with infrastructure and standing all of that up. Right? If you want to stand that up yourself, great. You don't need the SaaS. You get to manage it. But if we manage it, yeah. If I have time, I might add a Maui sample. Yeah, I can see a Maui sample being very valuable for people to go through and do. This a lot of what's happening is we're sort of in very startup-y go fast mode. So, but it's all based upon a proven library that's out there. The only thing that's new-ish with this is there was a big rewrite for Cloud Squirrel that was about to be released, and we just rolled it into Velopack. So there was the the underlying libraries for doing like the updates that are written in Rust, that was a major refactor. So most people won't see it, right? All they'll see is, hey, my setup got a lot smaller. It runs a lot faster. Great. Like it's smaller and faster. That's what most people are going to notice. Um, but it was something that was technically new that didn't actually make it out in a full release with Cloud Squirrel, and instead is shipping as Velopack instead. So, but yeah, so if people have stuff, feel free to log issues and whatnot. Like I said, very much running in startup mode, but looking to get the big release out the door. You will probably see a a secondary package get published with a lot of obsolete attributes tagged on it or similar, because the build tasks that we're using to do the publish, like the backend service isn't ready, so we don't want people actually using it yet. And so if you see a second package come out, it's probably going to get published quietly so that we don't get bugs reported on it. But it's mostly going to be there for us testing the SaaS, and everything's subject to change and things are going fast and whatnot. But yeah, that's all of that. Okay, about to sign off, and there we go. So if that helps, if you want to well, thank you. Yeah, like I said, please use it. If there is feedback that you have, it also works cross-plat, which is another big thing that I don't think a lot of installers handle. So at least Windows and Mac. So if you build a cross-platform app with, say, Maui or similar, and you want to deploy on Mac OS, Maui isn't very Linux friendly for the UI. But yeah, Velopack does do a Mac OS installer. There is also a Linux installer. It's more of a, what's the term that got used? It's something that literally just got built in like the last week. It's a universal installer, I think was the right term. A lot of it's kind of like zip package deploy, Xcopy deploy style stuff. But it's a way to actually have it work on Linux and get a package out of there. So you'll see it actually build those out if you run the CLI targeting either OS X or Linux. So yeah. And again, a lot of that stuff is new. So if you play with it and find issues, please log issues and let us know, because it is something that it's not nearly as battle tested as the Windows side of the fence, which has a lot of stuff that has used it successfully for a while, and pretty confident all of that stuff is still working fine. So with that, I'll tell everybody happy coding. Thanks for all hanging out. See everyone next time.